Hi, my name is Leslie and I'm the creator of the Be Like the Willow movement, and I just wanted to share with you a little bit about our experience with our daughter Willow. In 2017, I was at the end of my first pregnancy. I went for my last tummy check appointment on my due date, and they said everything looks good. I had a great pregnancy. Most days I felt better pregnant than not. And so we went for our tummy check, and they said, when your contractions are so many minutes apart, go ahead and head to the hospital. And if you don't go into labor by yourself, then we'll induce you on Saturday. And so we went home, and the next day I woke up and I had started in the afternoon kind of experiencing like Braxton Hicks and, not consistent or anything, but it was my first pregnancy. I didn't know what to expect. So I said, well, we better go to the hospital. Even though I don't think I'm in labor, but you don't know. So we got in the car, we drove to the hospital, everything was packed, and went in. They hooked me up to the monitors, they checked the baby's heart rate, everything looked great, and they said, come back when your contractions are closer together and you're just kind of experiencing Braxton Hicks, and so everything still is good. So we went home and I went to bed, and I woke up the next morning, which was June 8th, and I felt extra refreshed. I had only gotten up a couple times throughout the night. Normally I was up every hour, and I got really good sleep and got ready in the morning and went to work just like every other day. And middle of the morning, my stomach was, my belly was still contracting, but I wasn't feeling like big kicks. Every other morning I would wake up and I would have those big, huge kicks. So I called the nurse line, and they happened to be out of the office, and I thought to myself, well, everything's fine because, I feel good. I'm not sick. I'm not aching. And then with it being my first pregnancy, I didn't know if, you're supposed to have those big kicks at the end because you're having contractions, minor ones, and maybe she's just shifted or moved, or so they called me back, and in the meantime I had called my husband. I just said, it's no need to worry because I feel good, but I haven't really been feeling those big kicks. And so they called us back and they asked all the questions that that they are supposed to ask, and the very last question that they asked was, what is your kick count? And I said, what's a kick count? Because I didn't know that I was supposed to I had never heard of that. So they said, well, you're supposed to have so many kicks per hour. And I said, well, I've been having, minor contraction type things. I said, so I don't know if it is supposed to feel different. I said, but if you're asking when's the last time that you felt a kick like I've had every other day of my pregnancy, I would have to say probably I don't know that I felt one this morning even. And she said, okay, well, why don't you go ahead and head up to the triage? And I was like, no, I was just there yesterday, and I just had my tummy check appointment the day before that, and I feel fine, so we don't need to go back. And she was like, no, just go. Everything, have them look at you and head in that direction. So I called my husband and we headed up to the triage, and every time we had gone before to any doctor appointment that I heard the heartbeat, the volume was so loud that they normally would have to turn it down. And this time, we went in and got everything hooked up, and she went to go to place the monitor and find a heartbeat, and I just kept watching her turn the volume up and then turn it up louder and turn it up louder. And so we it took us off guard, of course, and we there's so much uncertainty in that exact moment. But fast forward, they came in, they did the ultrasound, and then they brought the big ultrasound machine in, they did that, and they couldn't find a heartbeat. And, there's so many things that are going through your brain, but at the same time, you're just kind of like frozen. And everybody, who do you call first, and what do you tell them, and how do you tell them? And we didn't really know any answers because I hadn't delivered yet. So we our doctor came in and he was wonderful. I said, my first question was like, so, now what do we do? And he gave me options, and he said, you can take as much time as you need. And so we decided to do a C-section, because we felt that emotionally it would be better for me at least, which it's not the same for everybody, but for me, emotionally, I didn't want to take the chance to go through labor and then at the end of that have to be rushed to a C-section, on top of all of the emotional stuff that we were going through. So we did a C-section, and as I was getting prepared for surgery that night, I looked up at Andrew and I said, I think we should name her Willow, which was not a name that we had, maybe once, maybe twice we had talked about that name. We actually had another name picked out. And he looked at me, and his eyes swelled, and he said, I agree. I think that's, yes. And so we went through delivery, and we got back to the recovery room. And in the meantime, I had said we want to do some pictures with Willow, and is there anything that can help with her color in the meantime, because I'm going to have to be in recovery before I go back to my room, for a couple hours. And she said we have what's called a cuddle cot, and she got out this big blue, like, treasure chest looking thing and put it on the counter, and she explained that it was a cooling unit that you can use. You can put it like in the bassinet, or we actually put it in, on my arm so that way I could hold Willow. And it just pushes cool air through what looks kind of like bubble wrap or like a swimming pool topper, is kind of how I explain it. And all it does is it pushes that cold air through, and it preserves the features of the baby, because their features change so quickly. And, depending on how long it has been and all of that, it just is a very fast process. So we got back, we'd used the cuddle cot, we took it back to our room with us, and because of the cuddle cot, each family member was able to hold Willow and, meet her and look at all of her little features. And then they went and they did some keepsake stuff with her, brought her back, and the whole time, we were using this cuddle cot, and I just assumed that was a piece of equipment that the hospital had. And so she came back, and then our whole family, whoever wanted to hold her again and kind of say goodbye, they did that, and it was very emotional. And then we had our couple of minutes with her, and the whole time they were saying you can have as long as you need, take as much time. And so Andrew and I spent those last minutes with her, and then when we were ready, which you're never ready, but when we were ready in that situation, and under those circumstances, we said, okay, I think we're ready now. And there were little things along the way that happened that really stuck out. They were kind things, in the days following, where my nurse, she came in, it was 3 a.m, and I had woken up out of a dream, and she sat down next to me and held my hand while I just bawled. And just stayed there with me, and then there was, the nurse, whenever we gave Willow back, her shift, I think, was over at 3, and she waited with Willow until they came, after her shift, until they came to get her to take her to Akron Children's for her autopsy. And it just was one thing right after the next of all of these little blessings, and I just couldn't believe that in the worst and best day, because we still had all the experiences of having a baby, in that day, how wonderful everybody was. Everybody at Altman, my family, my friends, they're all reaching out. And but the very next day, we decided that it would be best if we did one post from us, from Andrew and I, about what had happened, and how were we going to tell people that, and word it delicately, and how do you do that. So I went to Google and I said, surely there's a quote about willow trees. And the very first thing that came up, it was the willow quote that we use, which is be like the willow, able to bend without breaking under the weight of the storms that come your way. And in that moment, it was like, yep, that's it. That's this situation. You know, you can take this situation, which is terrible and not what you would ever expect. And nobody prepares you for that to happen, and you can either let it, you know, totally just destroy you, or you can bend. You know, you can not break. You can bend, and you can go and say, what am I going to take away from this experience? Is it going to be good? Is it going to be bad? And so we put it on there, and it was beautiful. And we, a couple months later, September, I was scrolling through my Facebook, and I said, I was, you know, it was like 1, 2, 3 things right in a row that were just totally negative about very minor things that other people were posting. And I just thought, wouldn't it be nice to get onto social media and see things that were positive, and see things that other people are doing for strangers or people they know or for themselves, just more people doing good. And so I came up with the idea about the movement, and you know, that's kind of how it all started. And I asked for 30 people I thought 30 to 60 people, to one per person, one per day on the month of October, which is Pregnancy and Infant Loss Awareness Month, to sign up and just do one random act of kindness. And I just figured, you know, if I have 30 to 60 people, that's pretty much my friends and family, and how great would that be, just to see, just for the month of October. I just really need some more positivity, and everybody was just overwhelmingly supportive of my situation and wanting to comfort me, but I just really, I didn't want it to bring me down. I had gone through one of the worst situations, and I just wanted to be happy as we could be. So that's kind of how the movement started. So right the day after, when we were creating this post, we were like, we don't really want flowers, we don't really want you know, financial help or anything like that. We want to give back to, like, how do you get one of those cuddle cots? Because we thought that it was just through the hospital. So we asked, you know, can we donate back to the hospital? And they said that it was donated through Ashley's Embrace. And so I went on to Ashley's Embrace's website, and it educated me about a cuddle cot and how it worked. And I called her, and that's how the fundraising started, because I learned that the families raise money, and then Ashley's Embrace kicks in the rest, and then it's donated to these hospitals on behalf of whatever family, you know, raises the funds for it. So in the UK, they are in almost every hospital, but in the US, they are not. And so that's what Ashley's Embrace does. They raise money to provide hospitals with cuddle cots, to be able to give the gift of time. And, you know, it is an option, and some people don't necessarily always pick that option. However, just the ability to have the option is what the wonderfulness of it is. So it's very near and dear to my heart, because I believe that our experience with Willow was made totally the best that it could be, with the help of Ashley's Embrace with the cuddle cot, and then also with Forget Me Not Baskets, which is an organization that provides bereaved parents with a bereavement basket, and it has a whole bunch of different things in it. And then also just the support of all the people around me, and the support equaling random acts of kindness that they didn't even realize that they were doing. So the movement is just kind of a way to, I think, give back. You can give back in multiple different ways. And it's just an uplifting thing that I hope that it will spread, and lots of other people will do it. And I hope that it'll raise awareness, because the statistic is 1 in 4. 1 in 4 women experience a you know, a loss of some kind. So a miscarriage, a stillbirth, infant loss, 1 in 4. So it gives me chills when I'm in a room with a bunch of people and I count and I say 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And it just affects more people than I even realized. So the objective of the movement is not only to give back, but to raise awareness and to be able to donate cuddle cots to give that gift of time for grieving parents that just are totally taken back by the experience that they didn't ever anticipate that they were going to be in. And also just to feel better, I think everything around us is so negative right now that we just need a little boost. So thank you so much for watching this video and checking out the app. And if you have any questions, you can email me. It is belikethewillow@gmail.com, or you can send me a message on Facebook. We have the Facebook group, we have the Instagram group, and just, you know, make life the best that it can be, and understand. I think the biggest thing that I've learned is that it doesn't matter on my hardest day that somebody else is having a harder day. So you just have compassion for those around you and understand that you have no concept of what they're going through, and just be nice. So that's all that I have to say. That's about my experience. That's what a cuddle cot is. That's why we do what we do. And I'm looking forward to watching you and watching you do all of the wonderful things, and most importantly, go out there and do great things.